The fact that this decade is almost over, to me, is astonishing. The 2010s were the first decade I lived through entirely, so it's where most of my memories up to this point come from. "2010 is a year that, truthfully, I barely remember. I know it was the year I got my first tablet, and more importantly, a Nintendo Wii. Yeah, I was that late to the party. I was content playing on my DS Lite until that time, and it was a really fun time. My parents probably spent thousands on all the games I played. I wasn't allowed to use the PC, so I spent most of my time watching YouTube on my Wii. I watched a lot of videos, mostly SpongeBob related. I'm sure if you've ever watched a video of mine, you'd know I was a huge fan, at least back then. The first videos I ever really resonated with were called YouTube Poop. Most people know what YouTube Poop is now, but if you don't, it's basically taking any source like a movie, show, song, and altering it in any way. The first YouTube Poop I ever saw was called Flats the Rapist by Piss Myself Laughing. Although the title may intrigue you, this is pretty much all it was.
Yeah, except you forgot the part where I raping everybody out here.
Yep. Sentence splicing and replacing a phrase with something that bears almost no connection to the original scene. If you were to watch it for the first time today, you'd probably think it was stupid or funny in an ironic way. But as a kid, this was hilarious. Nothing compared to having an iconic scene from SpongeBob replaced with the word rape. YouTube Poop now gives me this incredible nostalgia. Creators like Truttermark, Hurricoaster, Barney is Perverted, Master of Zoroark, Sin Tragedy, ICUP, who made the Peanut Complex, and Awful Fawful, who sparked my interest in anything unnerving. These creators played a huge part in my childhood, and they're a big reason why I wanted to create anything at all in the first place. All of these videos led me to a tunnel of SpongeBob-related content, to the point where it's the only thing I'd ever get recommended. One of these recommendations happened to be a video called Lego SpongeBob vs. the Alien by some dude named Hawk17. It's a stop-motion Lego video, but it was so incredible to me. The first thing I did immediately was dream of tons of scenarios in my head for episodes that I wasn't even sure if I'd ever get to see them be created. But I was hooked. Hawk17 became the creator I watched the most, and it wasn't even close. I drifted away from most other types of videos in exchange for Lego videos because they were so interesting. I love the concept of creating your own world, so I spent the majority of this year watching Lego videos. 2011 is when things really start coming to mind. My parents finally let me use the family PC, which was running Windows XP, still pretty subpar for the time. While I never lost interest in any of the previously mentioned content, I wanted more than ever to create something. I didn't have any equipment at all, so I was left to my own devices, which was a PC that couldn't support any sort of driver. I created my first YouTube channel though, Bloopers on TV. Back in 2011, you could put a lot more information on your channel, like your age and your interests. I put my age as 36. I didn't think it made any sense for someone to make YouTube poops as a teen or a 20-something, because it's not weird at all for a 30-year-old to be making SpongeBob videos, haha. Anyway, I thought people would care if I posted a bunch of meaningless updates throughout the 2011 year, such as...
My mom was born the 7th of May, 1950. My dad the 11th of May, 1937. My sister the 29th of January, 1979. My grandpa February 28, 1928. My son the 18th of June, 2002. My daughter the 30th of December, 2010. My great-grandpa the 11th of January, 1919, the 11th of September, 2001, dialogue terrorist.
I never had anything to create a Lego series with, and even if I wanted to make YouTube poops, the software in Windows Movie Maker just didn't cut it. 2012 was a lot different. I kept up a lot of what I was doing before, however, I did start making videos on Go Animate. They weren't much, but it was a good way to pass time. Extra Normal was another one of my favorites. It's basically just a 3D version of Go Animate. both of these sites in recent years realized that they could monetize their assets by marketing the animators toward businesses and forcing anyone that previously used them to pay up. It drove thousands, if not millions, of their regular users away. I use my tablet to record these terrible Talking Tom videos that I won't discuss, but it was another way to pass time. At Christmas time, I finally got a ton of LEGO SpongeBob sets, and I had a ton of fun playing with them for the rest of the year. Everything changed in 2013. In March, I got my first laptop and immediately used it to record my first video, Welcome to My Channel. That video was uploaded just minutes after unboxing it. I was ecstatic. I'd never been able to record a video before, period. I went to bed happy, thinking I'd wake up to the video having 50 to 100 views. It got 9, but it still made me happy, even in retrospect knowing that it was probably me refreshing the page 9 times. I was still more motivated than ever to create a LEGO SpongeBob series, and with the fact that I finally had my own laptop, I was going to do it. I tried stop motion a lot, but I realized I was too lazy to put in work, even if it was just taking a bunch of pictures. I still tried month after month though. I thought I'd keep up trying to animate, and I made a ton of LEGO related videos that gained a little traction. However, everything changed on August 2nd, 2013. I was approached by this guy named Tristan, who said he found me while searching for LEGO SpongeBob. I thought it was cool, and we started a video call. This led to many, many more. It didn't take long for us to become best friends. We shared the common interest of SpongeBob, but I always looked forward to calling him. It wouldn't feel right making this video and not including him. He's genuinely played a huge role in my life for several years. I still consider him one of my closest friends, and it's been an amazing ride that's had tons of ups and downs. I still consider him one of the most trustworthy people in my life. I mean, he was behind many of my completed projects. We had a joint YouTube channel, The Sketchers. He wrote, filmed, and produced my LEGO SpongeBob series, the only episode that ever came out. A lot of the shows that I previously worked on were because of him. These days, he's involved in a group called Drift and Collide with friends Colby and Trey. It seems like a really interesting project, and I really would encourage everyone to go give them a listen. They've only released a handful of songs, but many more of them are on the way. It's my opinion that they get so much better with every release. Now, I should say I was not in any way, shape, or form asked to promote them, sponsor them, anything like that. I just feel that I sincerely owe it to Tristan for always being there for me. This is really the least I can do. Tristan opened the door for me to meet many, many others. Like 17777 Greg. We never got as close as I hoped, but he and I were always chill. Tristan introduced me to Jonas as well, or Jazzbury. We immediately got pretty close, and we even made our own weekly livestream series, Fridays with Jonas. It was a livestream series about pretty much whatever we wanted it to be. It lasted 5 episodes before its abrupt cancellation. It was actually pretty petty. He wanted to sing a song from China, Illinois, and I didn't want him to, so I canceled the entire series. Then I made a video about why I did it. But it's alright. We revamped it a few months later and called it Jazz Day. It lasted a little longer, but we just lost interest over time. I did ride out the year of 2013 doing Jazz Day though. Quite literally, I livestreamed the clocks turning to 2014. Now, 2014 is what I consider the dark age. Not that it was the worst thing to ever happen, but it was the year I became addicted to the internet more than ever before. The year started out simple enough. I continued making videos as usual, but one night I wanted to call Tristan. January 10th, 2014. Somehow, the conversation shifted to Wikia, known now as Fandom. Specifically, the SpongeBob Wiki. I don't know why, but I got interested in the concept of wikis right away, and I started regularly editing the SpongeBob Wiki. As ridiculous as it sounds, Wikia totally captivated me. My grades plummeted, I pushed all my friends away, and I quit making YouTube videos all because of a SpongeBob fan site. A show I didn't even watch anymore. In March, I became a chat moderator on the site, and it only got worse. I stayed in chat that summer, sometimes just watching over chat for hours on end with no breaks at all. I'd sometimes go days without going outside, which is impossible for me to do now. Even talking to someone like Tristan or Jonas gave me a headache because it was so out of the ordinary for me. I just had this fear of something happening on the chat, and it was the most ridiculous set of circumstances I've ever encountered. I went on vacation that summer, and I burned through my data just to check the chat. It was a terrible time, but when the school year started, I knew things would have to change. I started going on the site less and uploading on YouTube a bit more. I was still frequently visiting the site, but I came to terms with the fact that I needed to work on my studies. Late that year, I became an administrator on the site, but my activity continued to dwindle. Really, all that year was dedicated to Wikipedia, and while I did make a few friends from it, it's probably the year I regret most from this decade. 2015 as the dark age continued. I still frequented the site way too often, and while I did upload more to YouTube, I just wasn't getting out that much. It's basically just a less interesting version of 2014 for me. The summer brought a few more videos, but I barely did anything. I became a bureaucrat on the SpongeBob wiki, which is pretty much the top dog, but I just wasn't happy with it anymore. I felt like I'd done everything there was to do on it. I was too burnt out after going on it daily for a year and a half. That's pretty much everything interesting I can remember from 2015. 2016 was the renaissance. Looking back, this was a really, really good year for me. I started the year off with a lot of promises, new series, gaming videos, new trailer, commentary show, all in the first month. It was the most interest I'd had in YouTube since I started. In February, I retired from the wiki after 2 years of daily visitation, and it was so relieving. I went back to check up every few months, but it was in the back of my mind, no longer the forefront. I kept up on YouTube with frequent uploads, and for the first time in 3 years, I was actually having fun doing it. Uploading tons of videos a month was something that I hadn't experienced in so long, and it prolonged until summer 16. Every day that summer, I woke up in the afternoon to do whatever the fuck I wanted to. Mostly go swimming or hang out with some friends, then come home for dinner and call Tristan into the night. This is one of the most nostalgic things I can think of. It was the first summer I really stayed up that much, and going to bed at 4 every night after a hilarious call with my best friend is something that cannot be compared. It wasn't even much, just us calling and fucking around, prank calling people, watching videos, making satirical songs. Stuff like this is why I consider him one of my best friends. It was inevitable. School started back up, but the fun didn't stop. Even that school year was insanely fun, even when I was making petty expose videos on Quackers or Jonas. The videos kept coming, solidifying 2016 as one of the most fun years this decade. And looking back now, maybe even my favorite. 2017, the suicide mission. Not in the traditional sense, but this was the peak of my edgy humor. It became clear with every upload that I was becoming less and less careful with what I said and did. It became clearest in March, with every video being me just saying and doing the stupidest shit I could think of. Fake Lego SpongeBob episodes to piss people off, fake exposed videos, fake gameplays, fake vlogs, you name it. I definitely toned it down that summer because I just felt like taking it easy. I didn't change much though because huge traces of that edginess persisted. I still called friends like Tristan and Jonas, just much less frequently. It was still a good year for me, just a more watered down edition of 2016. "2018 was, at the time, the worst year of my life. I was going through a lot, and I've never been good with handling the stress that came with the year. I uploaded 8 videos that whole year, and it was the least motivating year I've ever had. I've already expressed a lot in this video, and it was in my best interest to take it down. I'm just not that comfortable talking about my personal problems. Not much noteworthy happened other than the things I went into in that initial video, but again, I think it's best for me to keep that video private from now on. 2019 was another roller coaster year of my life. It had high highs but extremely low lows. I started a news show, which was cool, made energy drink reviews, continued Your Questions Answered, all in between everything else happening in my life. All of these videos were just to distract myself from what was going on in my true life. And now we're here. The end of the decade. At least, that's pretty much it for my story of this decade. I do, however, want to give a few mentions to some of my favorite creators. We Made a Video is a channel that consists mostly of music reviews. While serious, they also have their comedic undertones, and any opinion Nick or Drew hold is supported with further explanation instead of the traditional song bad mentality. SpongeTube for the Win was the first channel I ever subscribed to. It's a pretty simple yet elegant channel. It's just a typical SpongeBob Sings channel, but the amount of nostalgia it brings me is still a favorite of mine to this day. POWERONLINE is one of the most underrated creators on this entire site by far. His commentary videos are entertaining as hell, and his production value would make you believe that his subscriber count is in the thousands if not millions. At this moment in time, he has just over 1,000 subscribers, but being one of the most underrated creators on this site, he should have way more. WASSEN, or WASSEN, I don't know, I hope I'm saying it right. He's an amazing rapper. His flow, his beats, his rhyme scheme. It's a damn shame he's not more well known. I found out about him from the song SpongeBob, which digs deep into how our childhood viewing habits still hold a place in our hearts and mentality through our lives. They're a bigger influence than we ever stop and think about. He's insanely talented, and I really hope you give his tracks a listen. Observer Drift quickly became one of my favorite artists this year. He makes dream pop and chill wave, think vaporwave. The production of his music is great, and he's one of my favorite artists to just sit down and listen to. It's relaxing, and yet beautiful at the same time. I'll leave a link to his Bandcamp. I sincerely hope that you give him some support. This decade was one hell of a roller coaster. Every year had its extreme ups and its downs. But the memories I made in this decade are ones that will last a lifetime. All of the people I shouted out will be in the description of this video and some in the end screen. I still have no fucking clue how to do that. Even though I got to evolve a lot this decade, there's still a lot to be done. I'm still a teenager, but I'm gonna make every single day worth it. YouTube has always been a great hobby for me, and I'm going to continue it for the prolonged future, even if it means going on hiatus a lot. I'm a lot more busy than I used to be, but I still like to make time for this. It's one of my favorite hobbies. I guess the only thing left to say is,
I shall catch you on that side that you flipped on yesterday.